Well, I got a lot more attention than I thought last night when I put up that short of the front drive shaft sitting pretty in this. So I figured I'd give a little walkthrough of what I've been cooking up. This is my '05 Chevy Trailblazer. I paid $1,000 for it, and the only thing wrong with it was a bad 4L60, as always. So I decided the best course of action would be an 8 HP swap. At the time, there weren't any adapter plates. I think I got in on the first order from Domiworks. I have this running on a Haltech Nexus R3 ECU. Great ECU. I'm not a big fan of their closed CAN system. You can't create custom addresses or anything like you can with basically any other ECU. But it works, and it's got 4 25 amp outputs. So I'm going to use these to drive some cooling fans directly and do PWM speed control on oil cooler, transmission cooler, I don't know what else. Still has a clutch fan right now. I might go electric fan in the future for the engine, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But yeah, this thing's pretty mint if you ask me. Wiring is mostly done. I still have some leftovers that I haven't touched yet on the Haltech. As I'm doing it right now, I've left the factory harness in place and just stolen all the wires and done butt crimps, mostly for connecting to like my ignition coils, injectors, what else? Coolant sensor, crank position sensor, VVT solenoid. Actually, I haven't done that yet, but it works. I just wrapped up both knock sensors and finalized the wire on the crank position sensor. So this being an 02 to 05, I'm pretty sure that's a P10 PCM. I'm leaving it in place right now because it can run my fuel pump. It runs the alternator charge control. The only sensor I've left plugged into it that isn't emissions or AC or whatever related is the crank position sensor. I have wired to both ECUs. A note about that, I don't really recommend it, but it being a variable reluctance sensor, it kind of can do that as long as you don't have a voltage difference on your two sensor buses. It seems to be working for me right now. I still don't like it. In the future, I will probably make the Haltech drive the fuel pump directly and the alternator charge control and everything, and then just finally cut this out or leave it so the Amobi is happy. We'll see. But all in all, it's been pretty straightforward. Downside of the Haltech is right now they don't support this engine. 06 up or 07 up, this 4200 gets the standard LS trigger pattern, the 58 or 60 minus 2 tooth on the crank and whatnot. But this one has the 6+1 on the crank and the 3 long 3 short on the cam. I got an experimental firmware from an employee at Haltech, which was very fortuitous because I got to the point of starting it and realized I couldn't put the trigger in. MaxxECU has it out of the box. I think Link is able to configure it. ECU Master is able to configure it. Haltech kind of, if they don't have it in their system, they don't let you do it because they want to guarantee that whatever they have in there works, which I see the merit of, but also like get with the times. Everyone else lets you do whatever you want. Right now, I still have 342 gear in the front diff, and I still have the four-wheel drive actuator, which is busted as it came to me. So I got to swap that out to the all-wheel drive unit that's just always engaged. Apparently that's a known weak point from people that have wheeled these things with bigger tires and whatnot. I figure if they can break it, I'll be breaking it too. Got an SS rear end here, which is a 410 gear. I'm changing them both to 373. I ran some numbers on some calculators and Excel, and it looks like 373 is going to be the gear ratio that I like the most. As far as the 8 HP swap, as I said before, I have, let's shed some light on the subject. This is an 8 HP 76 from a 2021 BMW M5. I thought it was a 75. I bought it as a 75, but it's a 76 turns out. BMW used both transmissions through one run of the car. What it means for me is I need to drop the valve body off and swap it for a Gen 2, because the Turbolamik TCU only supports Gen 1 and Gen 2 transmissions, not the Gen 3. It's pretty easy swap. It's not very cheap, unfortunately, but you live and learn. I should have inspected the stamping before I accepted this shipment. But it works. I got a good deal on it. The Domiworks transmission to engine adapter, pretty well produced piece, but as you can see by my red marks, I did have to clearance the bottom 4 holes into slots because they go into the Chevy oil pan and it is not perfectly positioned on all the cars, and I didn't want to take mine off to reseal it and center it. So I think they might turn those into slots on the next run of their bell housings. Their support's been pretty receptive talking to them. So fingers crossed anyone that does this in the future doesn't have to worry about that. But it was a free fix, so at least it works. Still need to get the original transmission cooler lines out of here. Obviously exhaust is a little loud right now. Front drive shaft was the biggest question for me. I was very worried that it wouldn't fit, and Indy Rack and Axle took measurements from me and they hooked me up. It was $750 for both drive shafts together, which I think isn't half bad. Got grease zerks in all of the yokes. Come on, focus, thank you. Grease zerks in the yokes, so should be good. In the process of cleaning rust off of this frame. It's a lot better back there where I've been working on it, but up here I still gotta clean and do a little POR. As far as transmission wiring, not done yet. Rear drive shaft, obviously not in yet. Need to get that rebuilt. I think it's okay, but I gotta change the gear ratio, so we'll see how that works out. As far as my understanding, the SS rear end just bolts in. Some people talked about there being different part numbers on one or both of the link arms that go to it, but to the best I've measured them, it appears to be fine. Here's that four-wheel drive actuator. It just disconnects the CVs from the front diff, is my understanding. or it disconnects the front diff from the drive shaft or the input to it. I'm not sure, but pretty simple solution if you wanted to keep it without the factory transfer case control module. Sorry, I'm a little sick today. But if you want to manually engage it, you just send 12 volts to one of the wires on it and it engages. But as I said, I'm deleting it. Plan for engine, turbo. I was inspired by Nivlac57, Calvin. If you're watching this, cheers, dude. Your Trailblazer and your 4200 projects are awesome. JWhit also has a white Trailblazer just like mine, but a little bit newer. Calvin also has a Trailblazer now. They're both going or are currently rear-wheel drive. Calvin's got a Gen 1 8HP 70 running on a MaxxECU. Great solution. Jonathan has a 6L80 on a factory PCM. Not this one. It's the E67, E38. I don't know. It's the late model one. And he flashed it with HP tuners, put a different segment in there, and apparently it worked. Yeah, so only thing that's not working for me right now is the AC. It's still connected to the factory loom, and it just refuses to turn the compressor on. I guess one of the 20 things I cut off of the ECU or the PCM made it unhappy enough to choose not to run the AC. But the Haltech can drive that, so we'll overcome that one way or another. Still got to clean up my wires, but they're all wrapped. Gave myself a lot of extra lengths because when I do a turbo, I'm probably going to rework the intake manifold, either come forward or at the very least I'll have to get in there and put big injectors in. And when I do that, I'll cut the injector line, which has most of this length hiding in here. Cut it then, do it once, put different connectors on there. I'm thinking about injector dynamics, if I can make some fit in there, or get an intake that they do fit in. I like their business. They seem to be the most upfront and honest and have the most data on their products, which is really useful. So the factory airbox would be, the bottom half here would be the washer fluid tank, and the top half is just a big old resonator. I'll probably leave that in place for now, but Haltech makes a nice exhaust manifold out of cast stainless. It's a little pricey, but I think it'll last the longest, because I've seen a lot of tubular manifolds crack over time, and I kind of want to just do this project once, get it to where I want it, and just use it. I want to tow my boat around, I want to take road trips, and I don't want to be stuck on the road with a broken part. So, not throwing shade at any companies that make tubular manifolds for these. It's just Cast has a better track record. Using the Bosch 4.9 wideband O2 in the factory location right now. Seems to be giving me decent measurements. Haltech plugged into all my sensors. Just, where's one? Yeah, all I did was cut it at the connector with like that much room. A couple of heat shrink butt connectors crimped on there. Wrap it in Tesa tape. Tesa tape hides all the crimes. If Raven's watching this, ban me from wiring all you want, it works. It's a factory map sensor. It's a 1 bar. I'll leave it for now, but as soon as you boost it, you have to change it, and that's the limitation of the P10 PCM. When you try and boost these stock, it's only scaled for a 1 bar map. I think people have made like a 2 bar map that reads like a 1 bar, and then you can do some trickery with your maps, but I thought I should just go standalone ECU, not even mess with it, get all the control, do it right. I do have it warmed up, but the cold start works just fine. Surges a little bit when the alternator kicks on, but we'll figure that out. Let's see, we've got Haltech NSP. It's a fairly user-friendly piece of software, but I get that some professionals prefer other ones. But turn the headlights off. Speedo's busted. Chevy things. But runs good. Alternator just kicked on. Wideband warming up. Haven't touched the map at all. That is not my realm. I don't know diddly squat about tuning, and I need to learn a little bit, and I'm probably going to get some help, especially once I boost it. I'm going to get some help, get a Pro Tune done, put it on a dyno. Again, want to be able to load it up and make sure it's happy in all conditions. As far as in here, BMW shifter. This plugs straight into the Turbolamik TCU, and I'm going to try and sink it flush into here, make a little trim, just 3D print it in there, put it in the stock location. The Turbolamik TCU also comes with a small LCD and a knob to switch through the transmission driving modes. Thinking about putting those in there, maybe somewhere I can see them but not brighten in my face when it's at night or whatever. All this is still loose, but thinking about putting the ECU up, way up above where the steering column goes through. I think it's like level with here, but up on the firewall. Seems to be a space that it'll fit. But yeah, that's my project. I hope to make about 700 horsepower at the wheels. That'd make me really happy. To do that, I'm gonna put an 06 Plus cylinder head, ported with cams. The heads on these are the weak point. They don't flow the best, but if you work over the late model one, it's not bad. So yeah, see if I can't give you a little limiter check. It's my on my limiter. Yeah, so I can just set my limiter to like 4,500. Well, this will be 4,800. Oh yeah, she's rowdy. She's ready to party, boys and girls and whoever. I don't judge. Ready to boogie. Just need to wrap up the transmission. That's the big question mark that I'm working on. But got my rear drive shaft. Let's turn this off. Rear drive shaft. Slip joint on the rear, because obviously there's no slip yoke on a Beamer transmission. And flange on the front. My transmission is 3 bolts M12 on a 110 millimeter circle, I think. I'll probably correct myself if I'm wrong, but the BMW transmission has a little spindle on the flange that locates, and that's what this collar is for. Space that out diametrically so it stays concentric. What else? I think that's about it. Be a pretty good road trip machine, I think. Just need to deal with that, deal with the transmission, probably drive it for a while. I'll have to make my own transmission transfer case control circuit. BMW in the previous generations, so in like the E series or the E platforms, they had a transfer case motor that its whole thing is dumb, and it has a separate transfer case control module that's part of the stability control. And if you want to control it standalone, people have it figured out pretty well. It's just a brushed motor. You give it power, it moves. You take away power, and it goes back home. But this, they put the computer inside of it. So even though you have all these plugs, or all these pins, it only uses 2 big ones for power and ground, and 2 small ones for data. And it's not CAN bus, it's FlexRay, which I don't understand. And because I am a Neanderthal, where when all you have is a hammer, things start looking like nails, I'm going to cut the motor open and gut it, take the PCB out, and just control the brushless motor with my own brushless motor driver. I'm thinking about an O-Drive. They have some pretty good offerings, pretty reliable, pretty affordable, pretty powerful. And because the Haltech is closed source, you can't do any custom CAN bus, I'm going to get just like a little teensy microcontroller, have it pretend to be various inputs and outputs from a Haltech product to get data in and out of it, and then use that to, write in my logic like it's an Arduino. Rear tire slip, tighten up the transfer case, steer the wheel, loosen the transfer case, hit the gas, tighten it. BMW also uses it for yaw rate correction. So if you're oversteering, it'll tighten it to straighten you out, and if you're understeering, it'll loosen it so you can kick the back out easier, rotate it with the throttle. That's a stretch goal for me. I don't know if and or when I'll tackle that, but at least as far as the throttle and steering and wheel slip reactivity, that should be pretty easy to handle. So yeah, I definitely look forward to working on this more. It's been a couple years in the process of picking parts and saving money. Actually 3 years and 2 houses, but it's only been on jack stands for 1 year. So yeah, should be a pretty fun project. Thanks for checking it out. I will definitely be posting more as I finalize things. Once I kind of figure out what doesn't work and what does work, then I'll make videos on each thing and spell out what I did, how I did it, where I looked, who I talked to, that kind of thing. But yeah, seems to be coming down the final stretch, at least as far as making it drive with the transmission. As far as the all-wheel drive, I'm gonna have to swap that front diff, and apparently it's a pain in the butt. Chevy did not make it easy to do. You gotta basically gut half the engine bay or drop the subframe or move the steering rack out of the way. It's not friendly, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. They also didn't give access to the fuel pump with a cover on the short wheelbase ones like this, only the long wheelbase ones. So, gonna have to drop the tank and put a big fuel pump in it. Thinking about running -8 AN for the transmission cooler, -8 feed for the fuel, probably a -6 return. Engine oil cooler, I'll probably also run -8. You don't want to restrict your oil flow at all. So, yeah. Thanks for watching. I'll update this as I feel like it. Ask any questions you want. I'll do my best to answer them. Cheers.